Yes, we are.
timer.
So we have the Zoom meeting going and and the YouTube should just follow up right after that, so.
It does, yes.
Charlie, it's all yours.
I guess we need to open the
Yes, start
meeting for the first and one and only block this morning. It's 9:01, June the 5th, 2020. We'll take the first hearing and by telephone. They're all queued up.
Well, this one has called in. I think that the one, another person had just called in when I came back. So
Who called in for?
Miss Brown.
Okay,
So
let's get it.
which case number is that?
1401.
The second one on
Yeah.
page one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Let's,
the last one on your list, but it's the second one on the.
and Barbara Klum from the front desk has something that may be important, so go ahead.
Eric Ludan, who is the second person on the schedule this morning, is on the phone right now, and he's in Germany. He was afraid that you might not be able to contact him and ask if he could stay on the line. So is there any way that maybe we could?
I make a motion, or I mean, whatever I have to do. I don't know how you feel about it, Shirley, but I'm kind of like, he's in Germany, he's trying to reach us.
He's active military. He's active military.
I mean, I think maybe maybe if you could tell the other person, just say,
Well, they're not on the line, of course. but-
You have a procedure in place as well that you have to deal with. I mean, kind of give an order that you received. Ms. Brown called earlier. It's your call, it's your meeting.
Who talked to Ms. Brown?
Donna.
Donna.
Donna?
Yes. You talked to Ms. Brown this
Brown?
morning.
yes.
Would you please talk to Ms. Brown and see if she's okay with waiting to be second behind this young man from Germany?
Oh,
Would
okay.
you please do that?
Yes.
I
Is she
didn't
on the
mention active
phone?
military.
That's what
Yes,
I'm not
Ms. Brown is.
understanding.
Let me
She
get
is
that.
not,
No, she called in earlier and we said that the board.
and
would
that's
call
how
her.
but she isn't on the phone literally now.
Not
waiting.
literally, no.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
But she is,
Right, she queued up for number one.
Just wait, yeah, we're okay.
I will go tell him that you are deliberating and somebody will.
And typically what you,
Yeah,
it's
but
just
just-
kind of like when a person comes for a
Right.
docket. And so if there's 4 or 8 people in that docket, you might have the first person that shows is the first person that gets to go. So
Right.
now we're just asking Ms. Brown if she'll go second or the board is.
The German fellow is Ludan?
Ludan.
Ludan. Okay.
Hey, and is there any way that I can get a piece of paper that has that, just one piece that I'll always just leave on my desk?
The hearing time.
The hearing times.
Yeah,
I'll bet we could find one.
Thank you.
that's a file that I sent to Valerie. It looks like this.
Oh, I mean, last year we had them. I'm just
Yeah, we'll just-
asking if
yeah,
I
I
can
cleaned it
have
up. I
it
cleaned it
here.
I cleaned it up a little bit. in her file.
If you're awesome.
Sure.
We'll take it to the desks and we'll have it.
There you go. Whatever.
It's still weird to look at you at the beard. I'm like, I know that guy, but
Yeah.
who is that? Yeah.
It's not terrible.
No, I'm not saying
It
that
just
at
looks
all.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Macaulay, he brought me some what's called sculpting ear scrub or something like that. Yeah, it was really good. I used some
Donna
oil.
talked to Mrs. Brown and she.
She's okay with it? All right, then let's go with Eric.
Okay, so
It's case number, we'll open the hearing on case number 20191-1366.
yes, and if you'll just transfer them, I can hit the button.
Okay, I'll let Barbara know.
So should I tell?
Can transfer.
Okay. Oh,
Right.
that's
Which one is this one?
No,
Ludan, he's the
Ludan.
first one. 1366. Thank you so much.
And you'll just start your thing as soon as we
Yeah.
answer.
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna push the button and let y'all talk.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One of our phone people hasn't called in. Do you want us to call them and say, are you not going to call in or check in or just leave it alone?
Wait till we're,
Well, if it's
Alone.
after 15 minutes, then they've all called in. Oh, they have. Somebody told me they had. Okay, never mind.
we're good.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, okay.
Good morning, Mr. Ludan.
Here's Eric.
Good morning, Mr. Ludan.
Good morning, how you doing?
Okay, before we get started here, we have a little, administrative to go through. First of all, this is account number 35091. The hearing is being recorded. We are the Appraisal Review Board hearing your protest today. The people present at the table are Charles Powers, that's myself, Secretary Cindy Duck, Kathy Hoffman, and Robert Dayton. Also present is Mike Soto, representing the district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of your protest. We do not work for the appraisal district. The Comptroller's Office provides an electronic survey for you to offer feedback about your experience today that may be accessed at the appraisal district office or online at surveymonkey.com/r/survey-ARB. The survey is voluntary, but we would encourage you to take it. In accordance with Tax Code Section 41.45, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. I am under the assumption that you have an affidavit in here that has all of your evidence that you intend to present. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The ARB members considering your protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and will not sign an affidavit to that effect. It reads, I, Charles Powers, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66.
I guess in future
I'm
hearings,
gonna
Val,
need 5 copies.
we're gonna just get that language so people can just
Right.
write one right after. Is that where you?
So I was gonna try to run
Yeah,
copies.
yeah.
Make 5 copies.
You have to say that out loud, Cindy.
I, Cindy Duck, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66, and I am now signing it.
I, Kathy Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66F, and I am now signing that.
I, Robert Dayton, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code 41.66F. Now signing the form.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath. Eric, we are assuming that you're under oath by virtue of the affidavit that you sent in. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mike Soto will now swear in for the district.
My name is Michael Soto. Do solemnly swear affirm the testimony shall present to the Appraisal Review Board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct. Signing to that effect.
Eric, do you have the hearing procedure times available to you? It, I believe, is on the back page of page number 2 of the material that was sent to you by the district.
Yes, I have it right here.
Okay. Do you hold a license a certificate from the Texas Appraiser Licensing and Certification Board?
I do not.
You're not an appraiser,
No, sir.
okay? Looking at the hearing procedures time, you have the option of you speaking first or the district speaking first. Which would you like to do, sir?
I would prefer the district speaking first.
In that case, Michael, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. The account that we have, here is, okay, we have account number 75051. All right, let me go to my taxpayer evidence. If you'll look onto your, not taxpayer, the ACAD evidence, on the third one down, we have a property that's located at 803 Raven in West Terrace. We currently have a valuation, on the 2019 value of $195,820. Currently has a homestead exemption associated with that. The effective years was changed. You'll see that that circle was changed from 63 to 83. There were some things that went on as far as a new roof and windows that were repaired. It experienced some damage. You can see if you move on, there's 2 things. It's actually 2 cards. Let's see. Yeah, because you'll see that there's page 1 of 2, and then 2 of 2. So the second thing is just the just a smaller, I guess it's a smaller living space. There's a little MA garage with that as well. Again, the total valuation of the property is $195,820. But it was only, that second portion was only 55% complete in our opinion. If you'll look, continue on, you'll see in 2018, it was 1963 and it was 75%, like it had a Harvey 75 on there. So the total valuation in 18 was $122,660. So this, like many other things in the storm, experienced some damage, went through a little bit of repair and renovation that made it a little bit better with effective ages of the subject property. The total value that we had in 17 prior to any damage was 144,000 and change. So 140, just to kind of follow the timeline, 144,000 went down to 122,000. Now we're at 195,000 in 19. Now remember, this is January 1 of 19. Another thing that's important to note here is that you also had, let's see, you also have the pictometry that's right behind it. So that's just the aerial imagery. And you can see the reason that it's on 2 separate cards, like you have card 1 and card 2. One is the main house, and the thing behind it is like a little garage area. So that's on the second page. Kind of way down right there. Okay, let me go back.
Can I just ask, on that other card, that 55% complete, right there?
This is the, hang on just a minute if you would, because comp sales, the comp sales that we have is comp number 1 is 1413 Chakalaka. When you look at the adjustments, that gives the an indicated value of 223,000. That's comp number 1. Comp number 2 is 203,000, and that's 924 Seagull Lane. Comp number 3 is 819 Raven. It's actually on the same street. It gives an indicated value of 202. Let's see, I think that's, hang on. If you look at the indicated value, the median value, when you're looking at all of those comps for the sales comparison approach, it gives an indicated value of 213, a mean value of 222. The subject is currently at 195. These are the comps that are there and used for the sales comparison approach. If you continue on, there was another comp right there. There's comp number 4. We continue on, comp equity. The comp equity grid, these are not necessarily sales, but these are just other properties in that same neighborhood. The comps were all, the sales comps were all from that neighborhood as well. And if you look at the median equity value, it indicates the value of 195,354. The subject is currently appraised at 195,820. I think it's 820. Just scroll down just a minute. Yeah, 195,820. Yeah. Beyond that, you have the sales ratio report that's included, and it shows you the sales ratio of all the sales in that specific neighborhood. And continue on.
All right, your time's up.
Thank you.
I had the same question. I don't know if you're gonna ask
Okay.
me now, but you had about 55%.
Mr. Luden,
Yes, sir.
you have 2 minutes to cross-examine
No.
and 5 minutes for your presentation.
Okay, well, I'll just go right ahead and, talk about some evidence I submitted.
Okay?
You might have it in front of you, I kind of numbered them, I'm not a lawyer, so. But okay, so the first one the first one is affidavit, I think it's 2 pages. And the second one is exhibit 1. It's the notice appraisal value I received, was before Harvey. So, okay, so that's exhibit 1, and if you go to exhibit 1A, it just talks about my value. This is what I received from the appraisal district, and it talks about the value is too high, disabled vet exemption, 90% disabled vet, and it was supposed to take into effect. I sent it in 2017. It's supposed to take into effect 2018, and the proposed value they suggested at that time was $144,096. So that's my evidence. And then exhibit 1B just goes over again. Property owner comments too high, disabled vet, and then assigned money, and also Jack kind of worked there. I don't know if she still works there at the appraisal district. And exhibit 1C, they talk about how they came up with the $144,096. So I can't really go into too much detail there because I don't know all the details on this, except that my house is there. On this exhibit 1C, the following page, exhibit 1D, is the additions they put on there. So also their assessed value is $144,096. And the last piece of evidence I have is exhibit 2. And then this one is just a picture of the kind of the neighborhood. And I don't know if you have it in front of you, but if you do, you can see my house, 35091 in the picture. And then there's the comparison with, 3 of the houses in the area. One is behind me was assessed $85,000. Then the next one behind him were 96,000, 113,000. But I guess I should have been aerial, maybe you get a better picture. But also there was a foreclosure on the same street I live on. I believe it was ID 35023. And there's also a junkyard right across the street from there. So I think those 2 things really bring down my property value. The big junkyard. They had cars catch on fire there, coming in and out all the time. I probably went pretty fast, but that's all I have right now. And I really appreciate it. You listening to me today.
Okay, thank you, sir. Michael?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes. On the cross-examine time, I'll use a little bit of that time to answer some questions that the ARB had. Specifically, one of the questions was, what's the 55% about? And that's, again, if you go into the pictometry, I can kind of point this out. It's the aerial imagery associated with the property property on our evidence. And there's two different, there's the main house and then there's the garage little workspace or whatever living space that is. Amen, the pictometry imagery. Yes, see that? So the 55% was associated with this garage living space area or MA or air conditioned space area. That's the only 55% complete. The rest of the house was complete to our knowledge. The main house was complete. So I hope that answers your question there. Mr. Luden, I just want to be sure that I'm receiving some documents in relation to the exemption because one of the things that you put was May 17th, May of 17th that you were disabled exemption. Is that right? And did we do a supplement? Oh. One of the things that we did is we received this and it was done through a supplemental process. Is that correct, Val? I mean, so it was retroactively put on whenever we received his exemption. He is correct that it wasn't on the record at that time, and he reaffirmed that, hey, yeah, I'm a disabled vet. I want to, if I could just show the board, I know it wasn't presented in my evidence package. Mr. Luden, with your permission, I'd just like to show that exemption is in place so that we can satisfy at least that portion of your protest. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, can you go to the record right there and one light? Okay.
So now this would be your rebuttal because you're out of time on the cross exam.
Yeah, I'll use my rebuttal time. I just want to show that in 19, it actually has the DV4 there, and then go back in time to 17 and 18. Do you see how it was placed on in 18 because it was applied mid-year? This was applied for mid-year in 17, so it was applied in 18. So I just want to show Mr. Luden, what I just showed is a copy of our digital record to reflect that your disabled vet rating number 4 has been applied, okay?
Do you have anything that shows how much that affected the value?
That wasn't in question, Ms. Duck, it was just that it wasn't applied. So it's there, it's there. It doesn't affect the value, it just affects the assessed value.
Tax, right?
Yeah, it affects the tax. It doesn't affect the value. It doesn't affect the
It
market.
doesn't affect
The market value.
the market value, it affects the agencies that tax upon that value.
Yeah, they get a reduction, just like a homestead exemption or a over 65 exemption, they get a certain amount. The disabled vet 4, I could show it to you if you wanted me to show it to you. Go to tax, would it be under tax exempt to show the amount?
Yes,
Entity exempt,
and go to like,
DV4 details.
well, it won't show it there, but under entity exempt. Like City of Rockport.
So it's different. Yeah. You're wanting to know how much it affects this stuff? We're trying to get to it.
Yes, and the reason I'm asking is because when he was talking, he
So
was-
the local amount, is it the local amount right there? These
Right.
are the amounts that it affects
The DV4 is 12,000 on each entity.
on each entity, okay?
But the question here is not, did he get the exemption? The question at hand is the incorrect appraised value.
There's two parts. There's one is the incorrect appraised value. The second part is he was denied an exemption. That's what's on his protest. And all I'm saying is that we applied the second part of it, so the only thing left is the market value. Okay?
And
Now we're
if it
to,
wasn't the market value, the value unequal compared to other property. The protest affidavit does not show a check mark of incorrect market value.
he says unequal
Strictly
compared to
unequal
others.
comparison.
okay, I presented evidence for that.
Right.
All right, so right now we're at the protester rebuttal for 2 minutes. Sir? Eric,
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
you've got 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay, well, I hope you take into consideration, some of the things I, presented to the board today. One was the 90% disabled beds, and, I guess that has been taken into consideration. And then there was the other one that, the average house in my immediate area was, valued a lot less than my own structures. That's it, man. I appreciate you listening to me.
Okay, so then we have the 1 minute. Okay, so now we have the 1 minute district
In
closing.
the 1 minute district closing, what I'd like to say, there was two things under protest. One was disabled bed exemption was denied, modified, or canceled. We showed evidence that it has been applied correctly. The other thing that was protested was value was unequal compared with other properties. If you'll look on my evidence, the subject property is at 190, 195. Sorry.
Slightly higher than the median.
Yeah. Yeah, 195 and change, 195,820. And the, when you look at the equity comp grid that I have, it's actually 196,354. So it supports our equity of other properties that are in the subject properties neighborhood are supported by other properties in their similar types of valuation. The very comp number 1, 4MV, they have similar square footages. Again, it's supported.
Okay, and then he has a 1 minute closing. Eric, you have a 1 minute closing. This is your last opportunity to speak.
Okay, I'll just say that, first of all, thank you for letting me, do this today, and also, I hope to take my evidence in consideration, what it was appraised at, assessed value at the time I asked for my disabled beds, and also, my exhibit 2, the last one, that the house in my immediate area, the tax value compared to my house higher, and also the junkyard and foreclosure down the street from us. So, and that's it, man. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, so now we have 5 minutes to deliberate. The appraisal review board.
I have a question on his evidence on the assessed value that he's showing of properties surrounding him. Very different from the ones that you presented.
Sure. Would you like to, we could look at each one of the ones he presented if you want.
Well, they vary by a lot.
Yeah, we have higher congruency in our grid. Well, would you?
It bothers me because they support his issue of this being assessed much higher than the other properties.
Again, one of the things that we do is we look at the congruency of the type of home. So I don't know which ones he picked. We didn't look at them individually. If you would like us to do so.
Just
Sure.
If we can do it kind of quick.
Do you know which ones I'm looking
I'm
at?
also looking at Michael's comps here and on a cost per square foot. He's right in the ballpark.
Go ahead and pull up just the, do you want us to look at just any of them? Okay.
Well, but see, what I don't understand is, that adjustment that was made when he came in last, it's like,
Okay, so this particular property is, what is that?
811 Raven
Yeah.
Drive, is that right?
Similar class, different effective years. What would you like to just do the summary sheet and just hold it static? Summary, print preview.
see, because he said the average house in my immediate area with similar square footage and lot size was valued 50% lower than my house.
This is the 2020, but go to the 19 in this particular. This is one of the properties that he pulled up. And
See, and his was an, JP, that third page. A JP, oh, no, just okay. Change the class on main area to what? And that's from y'all. This was back 6/5/17. And that's when the value was higher and it got lowered because they changed the class on the main area. An additional garage or whatever in back of property. So that's where I'm confused on that.
yeah, one of the main things is that he has an entire garage and living space or some kind of air conditioned space in the back. There's some discrepancy in the square footage of the properties that he's, at least one
It's
is probably.
substantially larger than this one.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you look at our equity grid, it actually pulls out each one of those individually. You know, it shows you that this one compared to this one there's a difference in whatever that difference is.
So it's that building?
An additional building.
It's that building that's making his
Well, yeah.
value.
I mean, if you look at just card 2, the contributory value of ours, the contributory value of just that second card, even at that 55% completeness, I mean, that second card that's $39,000 worth of value that's contributed just by that.
Because those other buildings
Just on a cost basis.
are
And
pretty
it's-
big too. I mean, you know, if you look at them. It's hard.
Well, it looks like the one that's 2 down from it has a separate building, also way smaller. It's
Right.
like a shed,
It is smaller.
and then the one behind it. I was just curious because these comps weren't ones that you used up there right behind them.
All right, we have run out of time. So,
I don't see any overwhelming evidence. The only thing that it is above the mean. However, this is 25/25, right?
I don't remember. I think it was a protest and it was granted a late protest because the subject property owner was in Germany.
Okay, so we can adjust it without having to beat the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
this isn't a 25.
It is not a 25.
Okay.
This is a this year tax.
No, it's 19.
I mean, it's 19, but it's
No, it's late.
a normal.
No, it's late, but we agreed to let it go late because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We delayed it.
And if the median equity value, to answer your question, if the median equity value of the comps is higher than the subject, then it meets the state, it meets.
But your median equity value of the comps are slightly lower by a few $100.
Well, I have the median equity value is 196.
Yeah, and the subject is 195 and change.
Right, so he's below.
95, 820. I beg your pardon. Do you have an equity value that's below 195, 820?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay. I'm sick. In that case,
Seems like the value is correct.
Yeah.
But they've added the exemption, but the exemption should have been added.
All right, I just wanted to clear up the
Hmm.
issue that you have with the assessed value, so. Given the fact the district presented evidence that this property is valued at considerably less than the average median value and slightly less than the average equity value, I would suggest that the district has appropriately assessed the property.
Second,
I'll second that.
in favor? Okay. Mr. Luden, you'll be receiving the determination of the board in the mail. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Mail, not email.
Yes, sir. Ma'am.
And you will also receive a copy of the affidavit signed by the board that we did not have any prior knowledge of your property. Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you for having these hearings.
Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
You too. All right, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't,
That's okay.
sorry. Serving abroad does good things for the country.
Okay.
So,
All Brown.
yes, Paula Brown, we'll call her. So that's going to, whenever Eamon's ready to start, he'll let us know and then we can, yeah, we're rocking. Okay, so, that's case number,
2019-1401.
yes. And the phone number, Cindy, do you want to do that or do you want me to do that? Maybe on the process form here.
No,
You
or
have-
maybe she took it, because I mean, I haven't gotten up and gone anywhere.
I have 713-677-1699.
Do you have a little Justin note? She had given me a Justin note, but it's gone now, so I think she,
It's possible that she took it back.
oh, is it right there?
Yeah, Paula Brown's right here. And this is the next one right here. These are the phone numbers.
Okay, so, and we can, do we have the papers? Do we need to read that aloud again to her?
We do need to do it again.
So maybe is she gonna, why don't we, before get Val to give us, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll get her started. You can start the call because you have greetings.
Yeah.
Greetings.
Hello?
Hi, is this
Hello?
Paula?
Yes.
Okay, there's a little bit of an echo and we'll just have to deal with that, but I'm going to turn you over. This is Cindy Duck. I'm with the
Okay.
Aransas County Appraisal District Review Board, and I'm gonna turn you over to our chairman.
Okay.
Ms. Brown, we have a few administrative things to handle before we get started. First of all, for the record, this is protest number 2019-1401, account number 25388. This hearing is being recorded. We are the Appraisal Review Board that will be hearing your protest today. Present at the table are myself, Charles Powers, Cindy Duck, who you heard from, Kathy Hoffman, and Robert Dayton. We are all members of the Appraisal Review Board. Also at the table is Mike Soto. Mike represents the district. We are appointed to perform an independent review of your protest. The Comptroller's Office provides an electronic survey for you to offer feedback about your experience today that may be accessed at the Appraisal District Office or online at surveymonkey.com/r/survey-ARB. The survey is voluntary. However, we strongly recommend that you take the survey. We like your feedback. You also have the right to appeal our decision. Appeal information we provide to you with our determination. In accordance with tax code 4145H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. Ms. Brown, I'm under the assumption that you have submitted all of your evidence. Is that correct?
Yep. Mhm.
Thank you very much. The ARB members who are considering your protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing affidavits to that effect. In that regard, I, Charles Powers, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
Next person.
I, Robert Dayton, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with other person in violation of tax code section 41.1.66F.
I, Kathy Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
I, Cindy Duck, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of tax code section 41.66F.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath. Mike, you want to swear in?
Certainly. My name is Michael Soto. I do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony shall present to the appraisal review board of the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Ms. Brown, do you have available to you the hearing procedure times? It's a chart that should have been, I believe, on the back side of page 2.
Yes. I do, where it says 15 minutes for this, 15 minutes for that, yeah.
Okay, good. Hold on to that for a minute. Do you hold a license or certification from the Texas Appraiser Licensing and Certification Board?
No,
You're not an appraiser.
no.
Okay, one last question. If you're looking at the hearing procedure times, you'll notice there's 2 columns. One's protest presentation first, and one's the district presentation first. Which would you prefer to do? You go first or Mike go first?
I'll go first, I've seen that, and I'll be brief.
Okay, in that case, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, I am protesting the tax value of $1,030 sand dollar. I believe you have it set at, $173,000. My home is a shell. It's unlivable. It's in a worse condition than it was had I bought it in 1977. No plumbing, no water, no electricity, nothing. It's a gutted shell. It had studs, that's all it had. And I looked at, so I don't know how you would appraise a shell, an unlivable shell, for $100,000. I can't find my paper, sorry. $100,000. Yeah, $100,000. Land was 64, and the building was 110. Sorry, I lost my papers and disorganized because I was waiting so long. All right, but anyway, so that's my argument. And then I looked at some of your recent sales, comp sales, and 1403 Mazatlan was sold in 2018 when my home was a shell for $145,000 or $127 a square foot. 809 Sand Dollar was sold for $128 a square foot, and 710 Lauderdale was sold for $120 a square foot. So my argument is my home should at least minimally, in all compromise, be assessed at $125 a square foot. But my home is a shell, been a shell for 3 years. It's a shell as we speak. That's my argument. And I think that you're assessing it, what's the word? It's not fair. That's my argument. And I was told right when I started this process, I've never done this before, so I didn't pay my taxes right away. I didn't know you had to pay them and then protest them. And Mr. Soto told me after we talked on the phone about how things should be handled, that he immediately was going to not agree with a reassessment. So that was very discouraging at the very, very beginning. So that's my argument. I'm done.
Okay. Mike, you have 2 minutes to cross-examine.
Right. In the cross-examination time, I'm going to kind of touch on the last statement by the property owner. The property owner contacted the district in April, late April, and indicated that she hadn't, she hadn't paid her taxes. And one of the things that it brought to light is that this board granted a late hearing. And in retrospect, I talked to our attorney, and he gave us some language that indicated that that there are certain rules by which this board can grant a late hearing, and this is from the comptroller's website. It's not in my evidence, but I'm going to read it into the record because it's part of the comptroller's website on ARB proceedings. Late filing protests. Under specific situations, you may protest after the deadline for filing a protest has passed. You may protest failure to receive a notice. That you may file a motion to correct with the appraisal district appraised at your residence homestead if it's not 1/4 higher than the market value. You may file a motion to correct the appraisal district if you're non-residents, if it's more than 1/3 higher. And you may file a motion to correct for a clerical error. You may ask the chief to agree to a joint motion. And I just want to bring to light that in the protest form, this protest form was received on January 10th of 2020. It was well late.
There were extenuating circumstances.
Right. I understand that, ma'am.
Okay, so now you're
Yeah.
going into your
Let me just go
5
ahead.
minutes.
I'll just go to my presentation. The subject property is 10003 Sand Dollar. In 2019, it was assessed at $173,000 and change. We have a 55% completeness, so we agree with the property owner that it's not complete. We have 55% complete on the subject property. In 2018, we had a Harvey code of H25, which means that January 1 of 17, we had a condo there. August of 17, you had some damage. We had a Harvey code of H25 on these condos, the Key Allegro condos. I don't know if it was the whole complex or maybe just that building, but the subject property was H25. Between that year and the next year, which was January 1 of 18 and January 19, there was some work done. And it was a shell.
Not on my console.
Okay, ma'am. The next page is the pictometry imagery for the subject property.
Which one is hers?
It's the one in the middle where the van is, right there. You see the van right in the middle? It's this unit right there. All right, so moving on. The sale, so, the subject property owners indicated that there was, it's a shell. So what are other shells selling for in and about that time? I want you to note that the sales for these properties are subsequent to the storm and in similar condition than the subject property. And if you'll look, the sales comp grid says that you had a $235,000 sale, a $175,000 sale, a $160,000 sale, and you also have a $150,000 sale. If you look at the
But I
mean,
don't have that paper.
ma'am, it was submitted.
I have the $145,000 sale.
Right, all of the evidence was sent to you.
Okay, I'm just trying to find it. You're referring to things like pictures, and you're not telling me what picture you're referring to.
So the median value that you have there is 173,307, which supports the value that we have at 173,190. The comp equity grid is just not sales, just what are things like the subject property. You'll notice that the subject property, I want to point this out, is 1003 Sand Dollar. Okay. But this board had an ARB decision on each one of these to come to a valuation of 165 median equity value. You see those ARB decisions that are each one of those? So this board back in 19 said that this condo should be at 165,000, or each one of those were respective. They were a ARB change in those years. What that indicates is the subject property owner is 165,403. So it's about 10,000, or not even 10,000. What is that? $8,000 less or something like that, just from an equity standpoint. So the question remains. My first point was that if it's a late protest, you have to file a 2525D. There's no language of the protest. You know, if you look at the protest form, this body granted, or the ARB granted a late hearing because of these extenuating circumstances associated with, you know, they're on here. So at the very, I mean, you know, that's the information. You know, my attorney said that, you know, we should dismiss because there wasn't 2525 language.
I don't know what 2525 language is.
Yes, ma'am. It has to do with over by more than 1/4 or 1/3. Like, you can't be corrected if it's a late protest. But it, you know, that's my evidence. I have evidence that shows that sales supported it. The equity shows that there was ARB decisions that warrants an $8,000 change or something like that. And that's the evidence. This board can rule.
Okay, so, ma'am, now you have a 2-minute cross-examine.
Okay, Mr. Soto, you were referring to the sales of 1102 sand dollars for $235,000 and 707 Lauderdale for $142,000 in 2018, 2019 respectively. Is that what you were referring to?
Let me go back to my evidence, ma'am, and I'll answer that question. The evidence that I presented was for sales, 1102 sand dollar, 801 sand dollar. 801 sand dollar actually sold twice. And then 702 Lauderdale, that is correct, ma'am.
Okay, I don't know about 801 sand dollar. I don't see anything on my paperwork here that gives me that. But I looked at the sales for 2018, and my home is in the same condition as it was in 2018, and it went for between $120 and $128 a square foot. I don't know what the condition of 1102 sand dollar was in September 2018. It might have been further along than mine. So I mean, you can't compare apples to oranges. Mine's a shell. I sent an affidavit saying it was a shell. It's still a shell. It's a shell as you speak. I don't know the condition of these others. Maybe they had their sheetrock up and their drywall done, their air conditioning in. I don't know. So that's my cross examination. The numbers don't make sense for a sales price.
Yes, ma'am. To the best of my knowledge, to answer your question, those were in a similar state on January 1st of 2019 to your subject property.
Well, how can you prove that? I mean, what's a similar state? Did it have sheetrock? Did it have drywall? Because mine was like the last building to be done.
Again,
These are other buildings that further along in the process than mine.
right. I would agree with this.
People have moved in and are living there and are selling their homes after they've been restructured there because their properties were finished.
Okay, and-
Yes, ma'am. In answer to your question, right now in January, you know, in May of June of 2020, the conditions have changed for some of the subject properties, but to the best of my knowledge, on January 1 of 19, they were in a similar state of completion.
Okay, and Ms. Brown,
I challenge that. I disagree with you.
okay,
Okay.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
you've got
Yes.
2 minutes, and I'm sorry, but we have to stick with the timeline to be fair. Okay, so now you've got another 2 minutes for rebuttal.
I don't see any evidence telling me the condition of 1102 sand dollar on September 7, 2018, when it sold for $235,000, or the condition of 707 Lauderdale when it sold on February 26, 2019 for $142,000. I don't see any evidence of that, so I mean, we supposed to
If you
take your
would like
word?
to see it, I can show it to you. If this board would like to see it, I can show the, I can show the,
You can show the inside of those properties?
I can show the percent completeness is congruent with yours. Yes, ma'am.
Please do so.
Would you,
See,
would this board?
You're saying mine is
Please.
55% complete. I disagree with that.
Okay, ma'am.
Which, do you
It
have
was
that
not more than
chart,
halfway down.
Charlie? Do you have
What?
that chart? Do you have that chart
Yeah,
that we work on?
yeah.
So in our, when we're
Well,
talking, we can do
yeah,
that.
Go ahead.
So go ahead and just show, this is the very first one. Just go ahead and do the print preview so we can see it the screen.
Okay, well, I can see it on the screen.
No,
Now, when we're gonna describe to you what's on the screen, we're keeping track of it.
yes, ma'am. And all I would say to that is just that you have a question about congruency with the other things, and the ARB wants to find the answer as well. And so the way to do that is just to look at the 2019 card for the first comp and look at the percent completeness to see whether they're equal or not. Because that was a question that you posed, okay?
And this round, we're watching, we'll describe it to you.
So now we're looking at the property card for the other ones.
1102 Sand Dollar. 55% complete, just like the subject.
Did you hear that, Ms. Brown?
Yeah, I don't know what you're.
It's,
Okay, you say, I just know what I have. I mean, I couldn't live in it, and I could live in it when it was built. So I mean, I don't know how you.
because other properties are sold.
Yeah.
In the same condition as yours.
Okay, so now we're to the, and I just want her to know that we'll run it through the same chart. We have a chart where
It's the district
right.
rebuttal.
but I'm just saying to her, right now, it's the district rebuttal, but we still have an opportunity to look at some other issues, okay? Or at those issues. So it's the district rebuttal is 2 minutes.
In the district rebuttal, what I'd like to say is that the statement that I made was that the subject property's comparable sales were in a similar state of completeness and disrepair. This board wanted to see the question answered as well. We pulled up the first example. We showed the 55% complete. Again, that's not evidence that I presented, but this board wanted to investigate that percent completeness to see congruency. Having said that, I've presented evidence. One is the comp sales that supports the valuation of the subject property. The other is the equity grid. Now, the equity grid warrants a change of about, 165,000 is what I presented, 165,403. That's information that I've presented. That is my evidence.
Equity is not checked.
Equity is not checked, but it is presented.
The difference is $7,787.
But what's important to note is that in the protest form, equity is not checked.
Okay, you're losing me. I don't know what you're talking about as far as equity being checked and not checked.
On your protest,
I'm not a real estate professional, so you need to speak in everyday layman terms. I don't know what you're talking about.
okay, Ms. Brown?
Yeah.
On your form, your property owner's affidavit of evidence. You have that in front of you?
No, I don't.
Well, in section 3 of that form, the question is reasons for protest. And you checked incorrect appraised market value.
Okay,
And that's what's been addressed.
okay.
You did not check unequal compared to other properties. So that is something we cannot deal with. You did not check the box.
But the evidence is comparing to other properties. Well, your evidence compares to other properties.
For the appraised
For
value,
the
yes.
market value,
Right.
the comparison was made.
I'm confused.
Okay, we're kind of running into our times because now the protester has a 1 minute closing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been, shortchanged here because you're speaking in terms I don't understand. You're looking at things that I cannot see. You're referring to, things being checked that I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about comparing apples to oranges, yet you're talking about values here. And you're saying that I didn't check the box that, applied to the values, so I'm confused.
Does she not have this paperwork?
Ma'am, you filled out a form that even got you to have the opportunity for this hearing. That is the
Correct.
form, that form that you filled out that got you this hearing. That's what we're talking about at this moment. As far as what boxes and what information you put on that specific form,
Okay,
okay? And we still have some things that we're doing within this hearing. And so now you get a 1 minute closing, the district gets a 1 minute closing, and then the review board, the 4 members that are here, we get 5 minutes to deliberate and ask questions. So we need to keep up with that because we have to be fair and do the same thing for every citizen, okay?
okay, I understand.
All right, so now you have a 1 minute protester closing.
Okay, in closing, I feel like I did not, I wasn't able to present, a good case because A, I can't see some of the things that you're looking at. B, the district sent me 25 pieces of paper that was concrete that I don't know what they are. I'm not a real estate professional. And C, my home's been a shell for 3 years now. I've had to continue to pay for storage. I've had to continue to pay taxes. I've had to continue to pay, the homeowners association fees. I couldn't rent it. It's been an undue hardship. My husband had a stroke in February of 2019, and he used to take care of this stuff. That's why I filed in late. He got out of the hospital in July, and that's when I started looking at the papers. My husband is now, Social Security, 100% disability. So, I find your tax rate and, an undue hardship. And I think your appraisal values are, not correct. That's my rebuttal.
Okay, all right, and then,
Right, in rebuttal, when we get these evidence packages together, we just typically present both the sales comparison grid, and then we present the equity grid because so much of the time, both of the boxes are checked. In light of that, you have evidence that's presented for the sales comparison approach that supports the valuation of the subject property. In the equity approach, you have a valuation that would warrant approximately $8,000 change. That's my evidence. This board can do what it wants.
I think under the circumstances, even though she has not checked the box for equity, that evidence presented by the district indicates that property is.
I can barely hear you, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying that even though you did not check the box for equity, that you were not assessed according to below equity value. I think you are. We need to take into consideration the fact that you were basically $8,000.
okay, so now
I can hear you.
okay, now we are in the 5 minute deliberation time for the appraisal review board, ma'am. I would like us to run this property through that same grid that we run everything else through. I mean, I just.
It's gonna come out the same.
It's gonna come out,
I don't know.
it's gonna come out to 55%.
Huh?
It's gonna come out to 55%.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Because she said it's
It's in the same condition as the other condos that we.
It's the same.
compared it to.
It sticks in,
And they
And
came
they-
to 55, I thought
yeah.
so.
Others that were sold in the same condition of, studs,
Do whatever you want.
No sheet rock, just studs. That's the way it was sold.
All I'm saying is in consideration of the fact that she is 8,000 basically above the median equity value, that we grant her the $8,000 reduction, bring her property value down from 173,190 minus 8,000, whatever that is, and reduce her amount by her taxes, or assessed value by that amount. You want me to give you that amount?
Go ahead.
It's on the compact weight grid there, at the bottom.
The difference?
It's
165, 190, is that correct?
Is that the difference?
That's that would go, it would bring her her assessed value down to 165, 190 from 173, 190.
Okay. Motion,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Brown, it's been reduced by 65.
Sorry, can you,
It's been, your appraised value has been reduced by 65,
$8,000.
$8,000 to bring it in line with the equity grid for your property.
okay,
All right?
something better than nothing. Thank you. Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. Hearing is closed.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I hang up now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
So it was 165, 190, just to be clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Amy, put that in, and then we'll run to the next property here.
I feel for people like that. Just because you can't move in it, just because your husband's been sick, all those things, that doesn't change the appraised value.
I didn't tell you, it was
I feel sorry for
Those
her.
condos.
This is,
1403, I'm gonna get the affidavit.
Okay.
It's the case, 1403.
They just
You wanna- you want to do the magic dialing the number?
Go ahead and call it.
All right.
Eamon, here's what because we showed pictures up on the wall and that people could see us and all of that. So is that going on now?
Yeah, everything is recorded
There's
live.
like,
The thing is, she's just,
we're being,
Yeah, you're being broadcast right now. This
She
is
could
all
be
live.
watching that on YouTube. She could watch us on YouTube.
she just wasn't.
She could watch it on Zoom. She could participate by Zoom.
okay.
Does she have all the material that she?
She had our evidence.
In fact, we had,
And did we send them a link
yeah,
to go to, like a lot of my meetings that are Zoom meetings? It helps me when they send me a link that all I do is click on it and I'm
Yeah.
automatically taken.
but they do,
As compared
they
to-
get that, and it's the same one for everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, they get it.
So are we,
Morning.
but are we sending them a link?
We have it on our website. We
And
direct them to the website.
They're sent
It
a,
just says click here, and you go to our website, you click here, and you're zooming in right now.
they get an email, and if they click on it on their phone, it automatically just opens it. Like they don't even have to type anything in. We've had 2 random strangers show up in our Zoom meeting this morning.
Did they ask to be?
No, I didn't say anything. They just showed up and then left after a couple minutes. I don't know who they were.
That's because we're so boring.
Yeah, I think so. We bored them out of the room.
Oh,
The
okay.
agenda for next week and then just that.
Are you just back or you?
No, you can.
Oh, okay.
Hello?
Mr.
Yeah.
Robinson.
Hello?
Is this Danny Robinson?
It is.
Okay, well, this is Cindy Duck. I'm with the Appraisal Review Board. I'm turning you over to our chairman now, okay? And he's gonna walk you through some things, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Robinson, we have some administrative to take care of before we get started.
Okay.
This is protest number 2019-1403, account number 8810431. Danny P. Robinson. This hearing is being recorded. We're the appraisal review board that will be hearing your protest today. Present at the table are myself, Charlie Powers, Cindy Duck, who you heard from, Kathy Hoffman, and Robert Dayton. We are appointed to perform an independent review of your protest. The Comptroller's Office provides an electronic survey for you to offer feedback about your experience today that may be accessed on surveymonkey.com/r/surveyarb. The survey is voluntary, but we encourage you to take it because we want the feedback, good or bad. In accordance with Tax Code Section 4145H, all written material that has not been provided must be provided at this time. Danny, because as a result of your affidavit that you sent in, we're assuming that you're under oath, and we're assuming that all of your evidence has been submitted. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Very good, thank you. The ARB members who are considering the protest have not communicated with anyone about the protest and are signing an affidavit to that effect. In that regard, I, Charles Powers, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66.
I, Robert Dayton, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66.
I, Kathy Hoffman, do solemnly swear that I have not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66F.
What? I can't hear that guy. Okay, well then you have to tell them you can't hear them.
Danny, we're just doing
Yes.
the affidavits to swear in that we have not talked to anybody about your case.
Okay.
We'll get back to the mainstream here in just a minute. We gotta take care of these.
Okay.
I, Cindy Duck, do solemnly swear that I've not communicated with another person in violation of Tax Code Section 41.66F.
All testimony from all witnesses must be given under oath. Danny, we're assuming that you're under oath as a result of your affidavit. Mike?
My name is Michael Soto. I do solemnly swear affirm that testimony shall present to the appraisal review board for the Aransas County Appraisal District is true and correct.
Making sure that everybody has to see you.
All right.
Do you have, Danny, do you have access to the hearing procedure times chart? It was on the backside of page 2 of the package that was sent to you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, hold that thought for a minute. Do you have a license or certificate from the Texas Appraisal Licensing and Certification Board?
No. I have no idea.
No,
We don't have.
you're not an appraiser, right?
No,
Okay, very good.
I'm just an old guy.
Okay, oh, so am I. If you look at your hearing procedures times, you'll see there's 2 columns. One starts with protester presentation first, and one starts with the district presentation first. Would you like to go first, or would you like Mike Soto to go first?
Well, I guess I can go first, if that'd be all right.
That's just fine. You have 5 minutes to present your case.
Okay. I really don't mind paying taxes. That's my privilege, okay? The only thing that I'm concerned about is I have a couple questions. You really should have a system installed where people can pay in a timely manner. We were advised that our taxes might go up as much as $600. So we went to the appraisal district, and the guy assured me that they would not go up that much. And surely they did not, but they got real close. Our taxes almost doubled. And I realized that, you know, if it hadn't have been for the mother of all storms, a lot of this improvement on my street would not have happened.
okay? And that's not my fault. We bought this property, and I gotta tell you, when my daughter came down a couple of years ago, we drove down Fort Worth Street from the north, and she was just absolutely amazed at the neighbors' houses on my street. Fort Worth Street, north of my residence. It's nasty. And although a couple of them have been replaced, but it was replaced by the mother storm. You know, they didn't replace them on their own. The house across the street from me was built by the Mennonites. You know, and it shows that I've improved my property. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to improve your property. And it says that on one of my forms, it says that I have a pad for my trailer. Well, that pad is made out of dirt. It's not concrete. It's nothing like that. It's just dirt. So I really don't have a slab or anything for my house to sit on. And I wonder and they said that I cannot homestead. This is my homestead. Because my house has wheels on it, I can't homestead it. When we originally bought this, we had a fifth wheel. That is a recreational vehicle. We now have a 40-foot long park model. Can actually take the tongue off of it and take the wheels off it and set it on the ground. I don't qualify to be homesteaded because I don't have a stick and mortar house. I think that's wrong. You're not gonna, this thing is 40 foot long and it has 2 huge slides on it. You're not gonna drag this down the road. Actually, it cost me $1,700 to have it delivered here when we bought it. This is not a recreational vehicle. I'm just thinking that maybe this should be something that you guys could consider in the future. I realize that I'm not going to be absolved of all my natural sins. And I'm 71 years old, going to be 72 this year. And why am I paying school taxes? I mean, I just don't think that's standing very strong. The only thing I'm concerned about is there was not a timely manner for me to pay my taxes as much as they've increased. I guess you guys have your job to do. I just don't think that an increase this size is fair. It might be necessary for the taxing district, but it's not fair to the people in the community. We RV'd for 9 years, drove all over the country, and we kept coming back to Rockport because we liked it. I'm sitting here looking out the window and I can see the Cove Harbor Marina. And, we like it here. I just think that you really ought to consider older people. We could have lived in an RV park.
Danny,
But we didn't.
Mr.
Yeah.
Robinson?
your time is up, I'm sorry. We have to move on.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
so now,
Hang on,
wait,
hang on.
don't hang up or anything.
Hang on.
Okay, so now the district gets a 2-minute cross-examine.
Okay, on the cross-examine time, I'm gonna use that time to go over the facts of the protest, okay? So on January 17, or January 17th of 20, we actually received a protest form, okay? It was received by January 21st of 2020. The box that's actually checked was exemption was denied, modified, or canceled. Section 31031 of the Texas Property Tax Code. Over 65 exemption was denied to pay our current taxes in 4 equal installments. Also should be exempt from paying school tax. This board decided to hear this case associated with the denial of exemption. Okay. In the property, the taxpayer evidence, and the taxpayer did indicate this, in the taxpayer evidence, he's indicated that on January 1 of 19, he had a travel trailer. He had some kind of fifth wheeler travel trailer. Those are not living spaces that we typically assess. I mean, so you don't have a main area to actually claim as your residence. You don't have any exemptions that go along with that claim. So if you had a house or if you had a mobile home, that's something that we can claim. Now, there are situations, or there have been situations in the past where you've had somebody that's taken a park model and or an RV, and then they've attached something to it that affixes it to the real estate. That, in that situation, we would pick that up as part of the real estate, because we would agree with the property owner that's probably not going anywhere. And it's no longer an RV, it's more of a living space. And then a property owner would at that time be eligible for any exemptions that they may qualify for. On January 1 of 19, which is the value in the property in question.
You got 5 minutes.
Yeah. On January 1 of 2019, which is the value in property in question, the subject property owner did not have a living space. They had a travel trailer and a vacant piece of land. Having said that, in their evidence that they, in the property evidence that they presented, the taxpayer evidence that they presented, they actually have a dissertation of, they have some pictures and they have their grievances. Our 2019 taxes were double. We were caught off guard. It's impossible to pay. Told we could not homestead because we don't have sticks and bricks. I just outlined the situation in which we actually have a main living space for which a property owner can have a residence homestead that would be applicable. The subject property owner does not have that situation, did not have that situation on January 1 of 19. As far as paying school taxes, the ad valorem taxation system is set up in such a way that within a taxing jurisdiction, you have an appraised value that's taxable. There's no, I mean, unless you're a disabled veteran, 100%, that would be a situation in which a person would not have any taxation for ad valorem taxation. We just want to be able to make our monthly payments and pay in full. Again, we don't have the ability to control how taxes are collected. We're here at the appraisal district. We're here to answer questions about exemptions and value. All right, with that, one of the things alluded to was the doubling of taxes, so that kind of alludes to taxation. The evidence that we have is the subject property is, we have a valuation of $37,330, yes. We have, as far as the trailer pad, it's a misnomer. It's a septic system, electrical pole, and a water system that is a unit. We call it a trailer pad, even though there's just dirt. It's the utilities associated with that. So the reason that there's a difference between just vacant land and this is you can have vacant land right here, and then you can have somebody that puts a septic right next on the lot, right next to it, septic, electric, and water, and this is more valuable in the marketplace. That's all that this particular thing is. So that's what the $7,000 is. I think it's $7,930. Yeah, that's what that is. If you look at our sales comp grid, the subject property is currently assessed at $37,300. If you look at the comps that support that, the median value is $45,980. Moving on down to the comp equity grid, again, you'll look at things that are in and about the subject property owner's immediate market area. He's on Fort Worth. This is on Dallas and Hood Street. You can see that the market value is exactly the same. So at $37,000 and change. again, I want to bring to light that the main protest in the year that he protested was exemption was denied, modified, or canceled. He can't get an exemption. I would deny the exemption because there was no living space to apply the exemption to in the year in question. And that's what I have for my evidence.
Okay. So, sir, you have 2 minutes to cross-examine.
Well, I don't really, I need 2 minutes. I just want to thank you for your time. I didn't figure that we were going to get exempt from school taxes. I worked in government for 30 years. I was a deputy sheriff. So I know all about, I just wish that you guys could recommend to the people in power that you establish some type of system that would allow people to pay their taxes in 90 days or 120 days or something to that effect. I really, did you see the beautiful pictures of my neighbor's yard?
We did,
that
sir.
we sent?
I did, sir.
Okay. How'd you like to drive by that every day? And the reason that I'm saying that is I wish that you would address that. You're a taxing agency. I realize that, maybe you could just pass this information on to people that have some authority, because it really looks bad. I mean, we got chickens and pigs, and when we came back from Harvey, there were 2 pigs and chickens and goats in my yard. I realized that was the mother storm, but that's all right. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay. And you're also going to get another 2 minutes for rebuttal, but the district, I'm sorry, Mr. Sutherland.
Go ahead, if he has 2 minutes. I mean, if he has anything else, he has 2 minutes.
Okay, so you've got 2 minutes for your rebuttal.
I think I said everything that I have to say. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Okay, so now we've got 2 minutes for a district rebuttal.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the evidence, just to answer the question of the protest, was an exemption denied, modified, or canceled? I've outlined the reason that he does not have an exemption. Whenever he sent in his second evidence for the protest, he did talk about taxes, which implies value. So I put together some grids just to show that the value was both supported from a sales comparison approach and an equity approach. Having said that, he presented some evidence as far as like the stuff around him. All I would say, Mr. Robinson, is that you should contact your county commissioner about any like cleanup activities or anything like that. Have you done anything like that?
No, I've not, but I certainly will.
Yeah, that's the avenue. We here at the appraisal district don't have control over cleanup activities or anything. I just wanted I just wanted to give you that bit of information, that just to reach out and just say, I have some areas that are near me that maybe need some cleanup. What avenue do I go through? Just ask somebody. Here at the appraisal district, we just control the exemption portion and the value portion. So we don't have any. Sure, go ahead.
I do have one request.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
My little bank requires a receipt for taxes paid. Okay, and although we have monitored, we have something that says that we paid our taxes, but we've not got a receipt from the county.
That would be the Aransas County Tax Assessor Collector, that you could receive a receipt for any ad valorem taxation paid. Are you talking about your septic tank?
No, the tax receipt.
Yes, that would be the Aransas County Tax Assessor Collector. Just call them and ask for a receipt. They'll send you something.
Okay, all right. That's all I have.
Okay, Because he has a 1 minute, sir, you have a 1 minute closing? Did you,
All set.
all set, okay. The district has a 1 minute closing.
Yeah, I've said everything.
You said, now the appraisal review board has 5 minutes in which we deliberate and discuss, okay? So, hang on. Okay, when he bought the land, I think that was, I think that thing was, I think the property across the street was that way. But since he bought it, the values have gone up. And sometimes I know that we do look at, you know, that the value of the land may be affected by what's right there around it. And I don't know if that, it isn't called obsolescence, it's called something. Because he brought up, and he did have the picture showing what was right there across the street. What's that called? Do you know?
This is the situation in which, you know, we've already gone through the closings and everything. This is a situation where I wanted these kinds of questions earlier in the thing. Having said that, he's provided evidence. The only thing under protest is a denial of exemption. We have provided evidence for why he did not get an exemption. The district rests on that point.
But he showed that picture.
He did not protest the value of the property.
I think that what case needs to be closed based on the evidence that the district has presented in rebuttal to what the gentleman has requested. We prove that the district has made its case and that this should be case closed and left at the assessed value that it's at.
Can I have a motion?
That's my
In favor? Aye.
Now,
Good.
okay, did he get that if he talks to you that you could give him guidance? You gave him guidance, but did he catch on to what you were saying?
In regard to who to call?
No, as far as if he wants to homestead it, he knows that he can call this office and that you'll give him guidance.
Yes, Mr. Robinson, I hope that you heard that if you have a mobile home, that would be a living space that we would pick up and you would be eligible for a homestead exemption. There have been cases in the past in which an RV has been enclosed and attached to the real estate. That would be a situation in which, but you also have to understand that the value would be picked up as well from the living space. And in many cases, it exceeds the benefit that would be received by the exemption. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I believe it does.
Okay, sir.
All right,
Is that sufficient?
yes, thank you. And thank you very much, Mr. Soto, for restating that.
Thank you, Danny.
Case closed.
Who's my county commissioner?
You're gonna have to look that up yourself, sir.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
I don't have that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think I know Jack somebody, but it might have changed. All right, thank you.
That may be it.
Bye-bye.
Jack Chang.
That may be it.
I just don't know.
He's
I
by
know
Cove Harbor.
mine. I just don't know other areas.
I don't know what area that would be.
He-
I don't know if Val has anything else in relation. Does she have anything else on the agenda other than this? Was there no other things that you wanted to bring up as far as the procedures or anything like that? We're good?
No, where's that?
Good.
So Monday, I'm confused. Monday, we just have 8:30 and 8:30 and 10:30.
It looks like just the morning. Is that morning? Just the morning?
Just the morning.
We're trying to fill the,
Same thing on Tuesday.
yeah, we're trying to fill them as much as we can. You know, as far as just a report or of like the number of appeals and such, it's, the same time last year, we're at, about 100 appeals less. So over the time period, it's about 2 weeks, and there's about 2 weeks left until the protest deadline. So that would be 200 over the cycle, which on the number of protests that we had last year was about 1,500. So we're down about 13% was my calculation.
We're down this year by 200.
Well, we're down 100, but we're only 2 weeks in. So if you extrapolate that out, it'd be about 200.
Got it.
Take that 200 over the 15, and that represents about 13%. So,
It's pretty consistent that we get the most first couple of days, obviously, and then there's a little
there's a
bump
lull,
at the end
and then
when
at the
people are
end, you
hitting the
get a big
deadline.
spike. So we'll see how it all plays
Normal.
out.
Yeah,
But as far as the scheduling goes, this board indicated to us that you wanted to fill up to 28 spaces a day. We haven't been able to do that, so we're just filling as we can go. So if it's only a half day, then we're only doing a half day. We're just,
That's fine.
it's just, we're just trying. Yeah. So we're trying to get, as always, the appraisal district is endeavoring with citizens to have conversations so that either they can come to an agreement or we can start the process by which they can